Hello, and welcome to this Blender tutorial on making fonts and logos. Today we're going to make 3 logos, these 3 here, and we're going to start with the most simplest one and start working our way up in complexity. So when you first open Blender, you're going to see something that looks like this. Just click anywhere, and you'll get this. If you use the middle mouse button, you can scroll around. If you hold Shift and middle mouse, you can pan the camera. Select A to select everything, and press X to delete it. Press T to just hide the toolbar, and N to hide the sidebar. I'm going to hide both. So in order to make something, press Shift A and create text. Rotate the text to be 90 degrees. So press R to rotate, and then X to lock it on its x-axis. Type 90 to rotate it exactly 90 degrees and click. Look at it from the side with the side view by choosing one of these options here. If you choose this one, you look at it like this. Press Tab to go into edit mode, and you can type in whatever text you'd like. Press Tab to go back out of edit mode. Right click to convert to a mesh. Now if you go into edit mode, you'll see that you have vertices that you can no longer edit. You can move them around with G if you like, but you can't type any new letters. What we want to do, go back into edit mode, press A to select everything, press E to extrude, and drag them out. So we have a bit of thickness. By default, they'll be locked on their normal. So right now that is in the Y direction. But if they were facing up, they would be going up. Right click and press Shade Auto Smooth to get rid of these lines here. As you can see, they disappear. If you want to bring them back, you press Shade Flat. Let's set up a camera. Press Shift A and add a camera. It'll appear at the origin point over here. So press N to bring up the side panel. Click View, Camera to View, and now click the camera button. You're now looking through the camera, and it'll move with your mouse. Move until you've got a pretty good position or what you want, and then untick Camera to View. Now your camera, it will be locked in place. You can rotate it just like anything else if you want to, or G to move, but it's fine like that. Press Shift A and make a mesh plane. Press R, X, and rotate it 90 degrees. G, Y to bring it back along the Y axis. G, X to bring it along the X axis, and press S to scale. Look at the camera view. Click on the border of the camera here to select it. Press G, Z to bring it down on the Z axis. Look to the camera view, G, Z. You can look at it like there. Okay, great. So now we've got the camera position, the logo, and the background. Now what we want to do is start texturing this logo. So add some materials. Go down to the Materials tab. Click Add New, and we'll get a default material. If you go up to this corner here, click and drag, you'll make a new window, and go up here to the editor type and make it Shader Editor. This is where you edit materials. Press N to get rid of the sidebar, and we're going to make this a glass texture. So click on the Principled BSDF and press X, Shift A, search glass. Take this part and plug it into the surface. We're going to rename this over here glass. And if you look at it in rendered view, which is this one here, you click on render, change from EV to cycles, CPU to GPU, denoise, change this to 30, and this to 128. You can see that it's glass. You might not be able to see very well at the moment, but it is glass. Now we want to add a second material to this. So tab into edit mode, toggle on X-ray mode. Now you can see all of the points. Select all the back faces, go down to the materials tab, make a new material, and assign these vertices to the new material. If you turn the emission up, they should illuminate the back. Tab back out of edit mode, turn off X-ray mode, and you can see that they're glowing. Go to modifiers, give it a bit of thickness, so we go solidify. That'll make it look a little bit more like glass because now it's got a sort of inside edge, so it looks a little bit better. And if that's all you want, then you can just stop there. If you press Ctrl B and just highlight outside of the camera view, it'll just only render what's in the camera view. Press Ctrl B again, you can go like this, so that you only have to render what's in whatever frame you want. It'll make it a bit faster for you. Go back into the camera view. Let's have a look at this white material. So we want to have it starting with red on this side and going rainbow over to this side. So press Shift A and make a color ramp. Shift A and make a gradient texture. Go up to Edit, Preferences, Add-ons, and search for the Node Wrangler add-on. Make sure this is ticked and save your preferences down here. When that's ticked, you can press Ctrl T and you'll get these mapping nodes. Plug this into here and this into the emission and the base color. So what this is doing is it's mapping a value of 0, which is black, to 1, which is white, all the way across this coordinate space. So it's going from 0 all the way. This would be 0.5 here. And this is being controlled by this color ramp. So if you bring this to 0.5 here, it is black all the way to 0.5 and then it starts getting white. Now we can use this to make a rainbow effect by adding more stoppers like this. Click this drop down, distribute stops evenly. So that won't do anything because they're all still even, but if you click on the black stopper, click on the color, bring it up and bring it to red, it'll be red. If you go here on the white one, bring it to purple. Here, this one should be bright and orange. This one should be bright yellow. This one should be bright green. This one should be bright blue. And this one should be bright maybe here. So there you go. There's your sort of rainbow effect. That looks okay. We'll decrease the world strength. So now it's just a black world. Control Alt B, I think, gets rid of the bevel. Yeah, gets rid of that. So it's just a black world. So the only light source is this Blender logo. You can work on some of the camera settings, so click on the camera, or you can click on anything you want up here. Click on the camera, click on depth of field, viewport display, check limits, and you can see that the camera will show you where it's focusing. So at the moment it's focusing back here. If you move the distance back to here, it'll focus on the text. Bring the X-ups down to 0.1 and then drag them up a bit more, maybe to 0.6 or something. It won't really matter for this one, it'll matter later. But if you click on show overlays, you can show what it'll look like in the final render. I'm fairly happy with that. Don't forget to save. If you go to render settings, yeah, that all looks fine. And just go render image. Okay, great. When that's done, it'll look something like this. You can just go image, save as, and save it wherever you want. There you go, that's done. That's the first one. Okay, now we're going to make one that's slightly harder. So same splash screen, click A, X, delete, T, get rid of this toolbar. Press Shift A, make a curve. I'm thinking we go for sort of a cursive font, sort of like a pool noodle kind of deal. So RX 90 just to rotate it. Look at it from this side. So I think we'll do the same word, blender. So we just grab these. So I'm just pressing G. You can see down here I have screencast keys enabled, so you can see that whatever keys I'm pressing. So if we press E, we can extrude, R to rotate, just grab these, S to scale the handles bigger and smaller just to control the radius of the turn of the curve. So we just keep pressing E and rotating them until we sort of get something that we like. So I'll probably just speed up this bit. I'll just be spelling out the word blender. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now we can go into the data properties for the curve, and we can go into geometry, go down to depth, and just make it a little bit thicker. You can do this at the start either if you want, makes no difference. For me personally, I can see the lines a little bit better when it's less thick. So click fill caps as well. You can see just at the ends here. Might be a little bit easier to see. If you go up to view, frame selected, I have it set to numpad 1, but it'll be whatever it says here for you. So if I press 1, it'll just frame this, which is very useful. So if you click fill caps, you can see that it's doing exactly that. We'll increase the resolution of this as well, so maybe 10. Okay, so we've got a pretty good pool noodle sort of setup here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in and fix the intersections. So I'm just going to bring everything that's intersecting sort of back along itself like that, just so it doesn't look so bad. Actually, let's set up a camera. Shift A, camera, just like before. Look through the camera, press N, view, lock, hide that, zoom out a little bit, blender, frame it maybe like that, we'll frame it, N, turn that off, and we'll just go in and fix some of these points. I'll bring this one in front actually. Rotate that a little bit. That's looking a bit better. The D looks a little bit weird. Maybe if we bring this one back. Yeah, there we go. That looks better. That looks better. If we bring this down. Oh yeah, that's it. That looks much better now. Scale this. If you want to add a vertice between 2 points, just click on them and right click and press subdivide, and you'll add another point here, which you can then move around. So I want to scale it a bit bigger to make this wider. Rotate that. There we go. Okay, I'm happy with that. So now what we can do, just to add a little bit of more razzle dazzle, we can click on this point here, press Shift S, cursor to selected, and it'll put the cursor there. Then we can change the pivot point to the 3D cursor, and now everything will turn about this point here. So if we click on something over here, it'll rotate about, you can see the lines, it'll rotate about that point where we've selected. We're going to select this one, turn proportional editing, and we're going to press R, Z, and use the scroll wheel to increase, and this will start bending like that. Great. Now we can press RZ, move it back there. There we go, a little bit more razzle dazzle. Let's see what it looks like in rendered view. So automatic, you can set it to any one of these. Optics is the fastest, so I'll set it to optics. Change this to 128. Make this 30. We might add in an HDRI for the background, so we go color. Actually, we'll go do it this way instead. So go shader editor, press N, change it from object to world. So now as you can see, the world is this gray color. If we make it, if we go here, make it any color we like. See, it's changing. If we make it brighter, or make it brighter this way, you see it doesn't really have an effect on this because this is just white. So we go Control T. Whenever you see this pink color, that means that there's a texture missing. So what you want to do then is open up Google. You can go to HDRI Haven or something like that. HDRIs, and you can just download a free HDRI. Perhaps maybe this one, Meadow. We will download 1K, doesn't need to be that good. Download it. You might need to make an account. Then you go back here, you go Open, Meadow, and you can see you have the Meadow HDRI just like that. Look through the camera view, we can see it. Very good. Move this slightly over here, centered. There we go. Okay. We just set it to 1. Control B. Just go like this. Now we're only rendering what's in the frame, which will help with performance. If it's not right, you can rotate it with these. You can see you got the rotation sliders. So we might set it to, I do want a bit of shadow. Now what we want to do is start working on the texture for this. So we have it selected. We can click New Texture, which is the exact same as clicking it in here. We'll call it Noodle. And what we can do is start playing around with some textures. So press Shift A, add in a Musgrave texture. So if we plug this into the color, you can see what it looks like. We press Control T, change this to Object so it's consistent. You can see what this looks like. It's just a noise pattern. It's a noise pattern from 0 to 1, 1 being white 0 being black. You can change the scale of it so it's a little bit smaller, make it bigger or more splotchy. Turn the detail up, dimension down to make it more like that, like stone or something. This will look pretty good. If you press Shift A, add in a color ramp. Color ramp is probably the most powerful tool that you'll use. You can change it from black to maybe a gray. Or actually, let's make it blue. And let's make this light blue. The best thing to do is look at reference of a pool noodle. We're going to add a bump texture. Shift A, bump. Plug this height into the height here. Plug the normal into the normal. And it'll be way too bumpy at first. You can see it here, way too bumpy. So we'll decrease this to 0.1. Yeah, there we go. Decrease the roughness because they are actually kind of shiny. Okay, add Voronoi texture. This is another good one. A Voronoi texture. Plug in the same texture coordinates. If you press Control, Shift, and then click on a texture, you'll get just that texture showing up, which can be handy. It sort of just bypasses this and it goes straight into the surface output. So as you can see, it's got this sort of splotchy texture. What we want to do is change it from F1 to distance to edge, and you get this cracking effect. So what we can do then is add in Shift A, color ramp, plug that in there. We can bring the white down here and make those lines sharper, a little bit thinner. That looks pretty good. A lot of things have cracks in them, so it'll look good. Click and drag this, press G, all the same rules apply. G, move this over, G, move this over, G, move this over. Now what I really want to do is combine this with this black and white texture. I want to combine them together. So I'm going to go Shift A, add in a mix color, put that in here like that. Take this color and put it into B, and click those two. You can see it's mixing the two of them together now. You can change the factor, so if I bring it all the way over here, it'll only use A. If I bring it all the way over here, it'll only use B. So it's sort of mixing between the two, which is cool. So let's just go back to here. We might have another bit of pool noodle. If you go into edit mode, and we just select these two. If you press Shift D, you'll duplicate it. Bring it over like this. Maybe rotate. Oh no. You want to go back to median point. Click on this one. On this one. No. Turn off proportional editing. There we go. G. So let's bring this one over into the camera. We can go into this and just make it maybe 25. There we go. Let's move it out a little bit. Okay, that looks kind of cool. We can do the same thing with the camera. Depth of field, viewport display, limits, see where the limits are. So we got to move these out to here. So distance, we just move it to there, 20. Turn depth of field down. You can see it makes things in the foreground now blurry and things in the background a little bit less blurry. Okay, I like that. Don't like this D. move this over a little bit to there. Yeah, there we go. I think we need a sort of maybe a beach background behind it. So if we just go here just to save on space on performance, we'll go back to here. If you go to Unsplash, you can get some free images. So we just type in beach. Look for some cool free ones. I'm liking this one. Let's go with this one. Download free. Make it large. Yeah, we'll make it large. So that's downloaded. So now back in Blender, we can press Edit, Preferences, type in Images, import images as planes, enable this, say Preferences, then you go Shift A, Image, Images as planes, find it in your downloads. Here it is over here, it's just a little plane. If you go up here and turn on texture, you'll be able to see it. So let's just scale this bigger. Look at the camera and move it GUI behind our thing. You also want to go to Edit, Preferences, and type in Copy Attributes. That is also very handy. So if you click on this and then shift click on the camera, press Ctrl C, and you can copy the rotation of the camera. So now it's facing the camera, so you won't get any weird parallax. Click on this and just move it into place. Maybe scale it a little bit bigger so it fits the frame. Then in this you can see it's literally just this image texture, and it's going into the base color and the alpha, but there's no alpha channel, so you could pull this off if you want, it doesn't matter. We'll plug that into emission. You can see now that it is in the scene. It's pretty bright. Maybe we'll make this black. There we go. That looks pretty good. Maybe we'll make this a little bit darker. And we'll go into world. You can see it's just the exact same thing, but we can add in Shift A, mix color. Just go here like this, and now we're literally just mixing color into the world. So you can see it's just white at the moment. You go like this, and it'll just be a white world, and we'll go back to normal. So just go like this. Add in a little bit of yellow, I think. Add in a little bit of yellow. I think make this really bright. What's really yellow going to do? Move this bit over. Okay, that looks kind of cool. And now we can add in some beach balls. Add some beach balls to this. Let's go back to Object. Go back to Layout like this. Shift A. Add Mesh. UV Sphere. And we'll just shade Auto Smooth on the sphere. Just press G to move it. Edit mode. Like this. You can see it's just a whole bunch of vertices. If you click on face selection mode and click Alt like this, you select a full ring. So let's select Shift Alt and go like this. We move, select 2 rows, move over 2, select 2, move over 2, select 2, move over 2, select 2. Just like that. And we can go into materials, new material, assign. So let's just make it something like red. We can see it. But it'll make the entire thing red because there's no other material for it to go to. Press new material, click new, press Control I to invert the selection, assign, and it'll be white. So go like this. Honestly, I'm fairly happy with that just for this scene. Move it over here like this. Press R to rotate, RZ, rotate it like that, maybe GZ there. If we press Shift D, it'll duplicate it. RZ, rotate it around that way. G, move it behind, I think. And then what we can do, which will really add some nice sauce to this, is we can go down into the timeline, and if you press I to insert a location keyframe, you can see that's appeared down here. And if you move ahead in the timeline to maybe frame 10, and you go like this, you put it over there, it'll move between there and there. But we don't really care about that. We just want some motion blur in the final render. So press Shift E, linear extrapolation. And what that'll do is it'll make your ball continue on forever. But what it means is it's moving here. Even though it doesn't look like it, it is actually going in this direction. It has a vector going in this direction. You can see that if I drag down this and I make this the graph editor, this is just an animation thing. If I press A and then view frame all or frame selected, you can see that it has a velocity in the X direction, it has a velocity in the Y direction, a velocity in the Z direction, even before this. So it is actually moving at frame 1. So you'll get motion blur when you render this, which is what we want. And we want to do the exact same for this one. So press I, set insert location, go to frame 10. Don't worry about this one moving off. We're going to move this one off this way as well. I, location, Shift E with both of these selected, linear extrapolation, go back to 1. And now, if we go up here, we go to motion blur, tick to enable. We'll probably have to reduce this to maybe 0.25. 0.25. Now, if we hit render image, nice. That looks pretty cool. Motion blur definitely adds a lot. I'm pretty happy with that so far. Kind of a pool noodle thing. If you want to increase your render settings and stuff, you can go down here. So this is where you can see what render settings you have. So you can make this a lot more, whatever. If you want to do a test render, I recommend just decreasing this percentage, and it'll render just a 20% resolution size image a lot faster, just so you can see if you know the motion blur is working and stuff like that. But increase it to 100% for your final render. Change the aspect ratio if you want. Change your frame rate. This is where your renders will be output. For single render images, I recommend just view render. This is the 25% one or 30% one. Just go image, save as. If you do an animation, this is the folder it'll get output to. So I recommend just going in here and choosing, wherever you want to set it to. RGBA, set that to RGB. You can change these, all the different types of files you want. I usually just set it to PNG, but if you want to, do TIFFs or JPEG or whatever you want, you can change that there. But I'm usually happy with these settings. This is HD settings, so if you want to increase these, you just go *4, just like that. Now you've got a square at whatever that is, 8K or something. I don't know. I'll go back to how it was though. So yeah, that's that one. Okay, so for the last one, we're going to combine a little bit of everything that we've been doing. We're going to do a bit of modeling, a bit of the curve work, a little bit of the image texturing, and some of the motion blur as well. So to start, we're just going to get our new scene, AX delete, T, and we're going to start making, I think, a neon sign. So let's press Shift A, make a plane, tab into edit mode. You can see it's got these 4 vertices like this. Press A, M, merge at center. So now we just have one vertex like this. We're going to look at it from the side like this. Press E to extrude. It'll go in any direction, but we want to lock it on the Z axis. So E, Z. Then what we can do is EX, bring this one out, EZ, bring it like that, EX, bring it back over here. We can click on these two, subdivide them, so we have a vertex here. We can select these 3 vertices, so they're literally just 3 points in space like that. We can select this one, so if it's white, that means it's active. So if we go here and go active element, you can see it sort of looks like that. If we do that and press S, Z, we scale it so along the Z axis. So if we S, Z, 0, so we scale it to 0, they'll all line up. What that means is that we can click on this one, M, merge at last, and these two will now be joined together in one vertex. So we've got a B there. Let's make an L. An L is just this one, these two, Shift D, X, bring those over. Select these, select this one, press Control X to just delete it, but also merge it with these two at the same time. I'm going to press GX and just bring this in, so it's just a smaller L. We're going to make an E, so we need to grab this sort of box, E. We're going to select this one, right click, subdivide, this one, right click, subdivide, this one, press F to join them together. We're going to go to edge select mode, select this edge, press X and delete that edge. So now we've got that. Now we need to make an N. So again, we can just select this one, these two, Shift D, X, just save ourselves some time. I'll turn it back to this one so you can see a little bit better. So we've got the B, Shift D, X, R, Z. So now we're rotating it around this way. So we'll rotate it 180 this way. Blend, and we can take the E again, Shift D, X, just duplicate it over here, save ourselves some time, and we just select this one, Shift D, X for the R. Blender, nice. Neon signs are usually kind of rounded, so we'll just click on this, click on this one, click on this one, and this one. If you press Control Shift B, you can bevel them. We'll just add a few more points and make them a little bit rounded. Blender. I think we might move these a little bit closer together. So now we can right click, convert to curve. We can go down to curve, geometry, depth, make it a bit thicker, shade auto smooth, fill end caps, resolution 10, make this 25. So that looks pretty good so far. There's a few issues here, like the shading here is a little bit off. It's fine, it won't matter for this. Add a camera, look through the camera, press N, view. And I think we might decrease the focal length. Okay, you can see it's moving there. You decrease the focal length, it's just like a real camera. Decrease it to maybe 30 millimeters. G. So if you press G and then Z, it goes up and down. But if you press Z again, it goes on its local Z axis. So it can move in and out, which is very useful. So G, Z, Z, moves in on its local Z axis. Okay, I quite like that sort of angle there. Okay, now we want to make a sort of a backdrop for this. Press A, Shift A, or Shift A, sorry. Make a cube. Go into edit mode, S, Y, scale on the Y, SX, scale on the X, SY again, give it thinner, and maybe S, Shift, Y. We'll scale on every axis except Y. Make it a bit bigger, like that. Okay, I like that. G, Y, just move it a bit back. And we just move it maybe sort of like that. I'm gonna add a material to this guy. So we're gonna make this the shader editor, and we're gonna make a new material for this guy. New material, Control T. Add an image texture for him. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go to Unsplash again. I'm gonna type in wood. And we'll go for something like, this looks pretty good. Go for this. Make it a nice big one. Go for a large. So that's downloaded now. So open that. Downloads. Here it is. So you won't be able to see it. We have to enable texture. And you can see it there. Looking great. But we can fix it up a bit better. Go in here to the UV editor, tab into edit mode. You can see how it's been unwrapped. So you can see which faces apply to which if I go like this. So this face here is this face here. If I click on this and I move it around, you can see what I'm looking at here. So it's like when you unfold a cube into a piece of paper and you've got like the 6 sides. This is basically that. If I press A to select all the faces, you can see it's that cube sort of thing. So what we want to do is press this one here. Press U, project from view. Now this will make it look like this rectangle. We can scale it up like this. Just like that. And now it looks a bit better. Looks like a piece of wood now. We can do the exact same. Actually, Control Z, we'll undo that. So we're going to scale it by 2.5. So S 2.5. And we're going to do the exact same for these sides. Look at it from the side now. U, project from view. A, S 2.5. That was a bit bigger, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so now what we can do is press Shift D, X, and move it across like this. You'll notice it has the same texture, but we can just click on this, press GX, and just move it. We get something slightly different. And we can just keep repeating this process. You can see that looks pretty good from the side view there. We might move everything just a little bit to the right like that. Okay, I like that. And then you want to add, move a little bit, move these boys a little bit over to the right. You don't want this gap there. Then what you want to do is just take one of these and just R, X, and just rotate it a little bit. Just add some variation so they're not perfectly straight. It'll add a lot of realism to your final render. And we just go look at this material. So let's pull up an HDRI, go to environment texture, open, or I'll just do it over here. It's a little bit easier to see over here. So environment texture, Control T, open. I have some saved. I think I'll go with this one I have here, which I quite like. I use for a lot of things. 500 free HDRIskies.com is where I got it. So if we look at this through here, using Eevee at the moment, we'll switch to cycles, GPU, denoise, make this 30, 128. So that already looks pretty good. These textures look really nice. What we're going to do is we're going to make them look even nicer. So we're going to go world, object. We are going to make these a little more specular, a little less rough, a little more rough actually. Get a good roughness. Shift A, add a bump texture, because they do be bumpy. And we're going to plug this image into the bump. And plug the normal into the normal. So they'll be way too bumpy at the start, I'd say. Yeah, that's way too bumpy. You can see that's, it would never be that bumpy. So this is the strength, so we can make that 0.1. Make that 0.2. That's a bit better. We can also add a bit of variation in. This is some real cool sauce. Shift A, object info. So this just contains some information about these objects. You can see one of these is random. So if we add a hue saturation value node and we plug this into the hue, you can see each one of these will go a different color. They did not. There we go. Now, each of these have gone a different color. So, what we want to do is limit this to what it can be. So we're going to do a map range. So what this does, it takes values from 0 to 1, and it maps them from 0 to 1. But we don't want it to go from 0 to 1. We want it to go from maybe, what was this set at? 0.5. We want this to go from min 0.47 and max 0.53. And then you'll get a bit more variation. If you duplicate all these, you bring them up, you see there'll be different colors. These two aren't the same color. You do it again, they'll all be different colors, which is handy. But let's go ahead and give this guy some neon colors. Get rid of this. Shift A, just add a straight emission texture. Plug that into the surface and it'll start emitting light. That looks good. Just Control V, and we'll just save ourselves some performance. So we just look at this. So if you look at actual neon, it looks kind of like. Let's find some reference. Neon signs. Look at some actual reference. Here we go. This one's pretty good. If you look at actual neon, you can see it's not consistent. It's kind of splotchy. So you've got sort of white spots, and you've got maybe darker spots here. And I also like this cage that's sort of around it. I really like that. So we'll add that in as well. You can see it's darker here at sort of tips and things like that. So what would be perfect for this is a Musgrave texture. So if we make a Musgrave texture, plug that into the strength, you can see it's sort of doing a thing. Make this object. See, we've sort of got that splotchy effect now. What we want to do is add another map range node in here. We go from a minimum of 1 to a maximum of maybe 5. So now you can see we've got that little splotch sort of effect. And we'll plug this into the color as well. It'll go black for now, but we can make a color ramp. And we can make this maybe blue. And we can make this maybe a different blue. Like that. Is this one fully bright? It is. Okay. Hello again. I kept going with this tutorial, but I wasn't happy with the results. I thought I'd go back to the last point where I was happy with it, and keep going from there in a slightly different direction. For the neon sign, I did change a couple things. So in the strength section, I added these two things here. I added in this map range node, and I also added in this multiply node. So this will basically just control how bright the image is. I also decreased the strength of the world to 0.01. So you can see here that the value from the Musgrave texture goes into the value here, and technically it's between -1 and 1, but we'll just leave it at 0 and 1, and it's going from 3 to 4 for the slightly blotchy effect, and then it's getting multiplied. Whatever value comes out of here between 3 and 4, it gets multiplied by 1, so it doesn't change, and then that goes into the strength. So this is just a slider that will let you control how bright it is. If you put this to 0 or anything less than 0, type in 0, it'll just go black. If you set it to 0.5, it'll be as if this is set to 1.5 and this is set to 2. If you set it to 1, it'll be as if this was 3 and 4. If you set it to 2, it'll be as if this was 6 and 8, so on like that. So this will just let you control how bright you make the sign. So we'll just set it to 1 for now. I also want to change the color of it. I don't like the blue. I'm going to change it to a red color. Yep, I much prefer that. So now to make the sort of back plate with the grading behind the sign, we're just going to put the 3D cursor there by shift and right clicking. We're going to press shift A, mesh, plane. So we're just going to go RX90, and we're just going to put it here. We're going to move this out a little bit. just going to put it there. GZ, just bring it down. And we're going to type SX. Well, we'll just turn off proportional editing, SX, and just drag that out like that. GX, bring it slightly over. And we are just going to click on this edge here and just bring that in until it's about there. Okay. We want to add another edge cut. So for me it's Shift Z, for you it'll be Control R. And if you scroll, you can make more. So we'll just scroll like that. And then we will add, we'll just go like that for now. A, subdivide, go down here and just increase this number of subdivisions. 10 seems good. So now if we go into modifiers, we can click on wireframe and get this sort of wireframe modifier. That'll look pretty good. What we can also do is frame this sign by adding in a little frame around it, I guess. So press Shift A, make a cube. We'll just bring it down like this. Okay, so when it's completely enclosing the wireframe part, you want to go into edit mode, click on this, the face select mode, click on this face and the back face, and you want to press I to inset the frame. If it looks weird like this, don't worry, just right click and go out of it and press Control A and apply all transforms and try it again, and it should go evenly now. So if we just go like this, that seems good. Press F3 and type in bridge edge loops, and it'll cut it all the way through like that for you, nice and easy. Okay, so now let's just more closely match it. So SZ, just bring it up so it's intersecting. Don't want this one to intersect though, so we'll just SZ, scale that down, bring it down. Okay, that looks good, but it's missing on that side. Bring it over, put it into the middle, SX. Okay, that looks pretty good now. And we can do another thing for some more added realism, is if you just go into edit mode for this, click on one of these, turn on proportional editing, and just G and just move it, and then try and put it back to how it was. You'll get a bit of distortion, which is always good. Move it again, try and put it back to how it was. Now it won't look so uniform. So we look at it here, it will look like that. That looks kind of cool. We'll add a material to this metal part. So if we go over here, make a new material, Control T, that'll open up the image texture. You can open an image texture. I have some metals. This is literally just an image that I found. You can get them on Unsplash, or just steal them from Google Images, just download them. This one looks pretty good here, so just take this one. We'll just decrease the roughness, increase the metallic, and we will apply the same texture. Actually, we'll go back here. We'll just name it metal. I must already have a metal texture. We'll just name this one. We'll just choose metal 01. So now that is metal as well. You can see that looks pretty good. I think it needs a light, something up here. Or or maybe some fasteners or something just on here. We might add a couple just fasteners just on the bottom of this. So we'll model those real quick. So Shift A, make a plane, bring it over here. So we go SX, scale it smaller, SY, scale it smaller that way. Just turn off this. Take this, bring it down, just like that. ASX, make it a bit thinner. And we can press I to inset like this. Then we can press Control I. Nope, go back to here. Select these two faces, Control I, Alt E, extrude faces along normals. Bring them down like this. That looks pretty good. We can take these faces, press SY0 to make them flat. Same with these ones, SZ0, and make them flat. Now we've got this sort of flat fastener. We can click on this face, press Shift S, cursor to selected, Shift A, make a cylinder, reduce it to 6 vertices. So now it's just a hexagon. Scale it smaller. S to scale. SZ to make it smaller. GZ, drop it down. Shift D to duplicate it. R90 to rotate it. And just bring it in here like this. Control L, G, Y, bring it over there. Okay, that looks pretty good. We'll give it that metal texture. A, U, Q projection. That's fine. And we'll just put it underneath the metal here. Maybe scale it smaller. SY, just so it intersects with the wood. SY, just make it, there we go. And we'll just put one there in the middle. Alt D, put another one here. G. I'm going to add a bevel modifier to it. Okay, that looks pretty good. And it's little things like that that make all the difference. And we're also going to add, I think, a light up here with some moths around it. So we're going to make that now. So if we just put the 3D cursor over there, Shift A, make a cylinder. We're going to add more vertices again. We're going to go back up to 32. Okie dokie. We're going to S Shift Z, make it smaller on every axis except Z. And bring it over here. Click on the top face. And we want to bring up T. If you drag this out, you can see the names, and we're going to click on Spin. And we want to change the axis of rotation to X. If we click on this, it'll start spinning like that, but we don't want that. We can go into here, and we can choose 180 degrees, like that. We can lift, we can change the center. So we want the center to be, yeah, that's pretty good. if you hold down Shift, you can sort of control it. So 2.9 seems to be pretty good. And we'll do it in 24 steps. Just make it a bit smoother. Nice, okay. And just unclick spin. T, bye-bye. EZ, bring it down. E, and then we just let it go, and it'll stay in the same place. And then S to scale, and it'll just scale out from there. E to bring it down again. I to inset. E to bring it down. E, S. We just sort of make little things like that. And now what we want to do is make a sort of a thing to go around the light. So we're going to go E, S, like that, E again, S again, sort of like that. And now we're going to click on this edge here with Alt, and that'll select the whole edge. Control B to bevel, and that'll just smooth it out. Now we can right click, shade smooth, and it'll look a lot nicer. We can click on this bottom face here, press I to inset it, just like that, and we can extrude it up to about there, and scale it smaller, just like that. That looks kind of cool. We might make this whole thing bigger. Yeah, that's good. I also think I want to just drag. If I go to X-ray mode, I just click on all these vertices and just drag them a little further this way. GUI, we just bring it to there. I like. Okay, so now let's make the light bulb inside. So we're going to go back over here. We're going to click on this face, Shift S, cursor to selected. Just going to focus on it. Shift A, we're going to make a UV sphere. It'll be way too big, so we just scale it smaller. GZ, bring it down. A bit bigger, I think. And then we can just take this top face, E, GZ, just bring it down, SC, 0, and Control L, we'll just bring it up and just put it into place. You won't see this, I didn't really have to do that. Go like that, and we will shade auto smooth again, and we will give this a new texture. Oh, actually none of it has a texture. We'll give it that metal 1 texture. AU Q protection. If I make this the UV editor, we can have a look at that. AS. That'll be fine, I'd say. We'll give it some more love later, but it looks fine for now. Click on this, Control L, new, assign. So this now has a new texture. We'll call this bulb. Call that bulb. Just bring this up. We want to get rid of this. Shift A, add a glass texture like before. Plug that into the surface. Let's have a look. Probably won't see much because it's a bit dark. Yeah, we won't see much. Suppose we could make this brighter. Okay, and one important thing that we need to remember with glass is that it doesn't behave quite as it should in Blender. It's sort of, if you put a light inside here, I'll just turn this back on. If you put a light inside here, you wouldn't really be able to see it coming out of the glass, even if it was really bright. Here, glass doesn't really let light escape, so you have to do this thing. I'll just put it inside. You have to do this thing where you take the light path. You have to take a transparent shader and a mix shader. Put this here like that. Plug this in there. And is shadow ray. Plug that into the factor. And you'll get a lot more light coming out of it, like that. So if I go back to this mode, where's that point light? There it is. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so now what I want to try and do is put a little filament inside. So with that same point there, we're and give this the neon texture. So now it should be glowing inside there. If we turn this back down to 0.01, make a new texture like this, and we'll turn up the power of that. That is not working. Just drag that down. We'll also just add a light, add a point light there. Just drag that there, make it red or yellowy. Yeah, increase the brightness. That looks pretty cool. We're just faking it with the light. We're just getting like a filament or whatever. And now we can add some moths to it as well, which is cool. So in order to make some moths around, actually no, what we're going to do is we're going to set the 3D cursor here. We're going to change this to 3D cursor. And we're going to select A and S and just scale everything smaller. So let's just add in a cube for scale. GX. I want this sign to be roughly a meter tall. At the moment it's about 2 meters tall. So we're going to press Control I to invert the selection and scale everything until it's about halfway the size of this cube. So about there. That's good. We'll delete this cube. Look back through the viewport. Nothing will have changed other than the limits on the camera. So everything's going to be out of focus now, but if we click on the camera, we can change this to bring it back in there. So Blender sort of mimics a real-world camera, so you have to get the actual correct distance. The scale does matter, unfortunately. So we're going to go Shift-A, make a cube, GX, bring it over here. We are going to scale it a bit small, change this back to medium point, scale this a bit smaller. We are going to add a subdivision surface modifier onto this. So it'll start looking like this. Click on this face, E, extrude it out, GZ, bring it down. Same for this one, E, extrude it out, GZ, bring it down. That's pretty perfect for a moth body. Then we can take this, Shift-D, X, it's just a flat face. R, rotate 90 degrees. Take this edge, S, Y, let's scale it bigger, GX, bring it along here. That's honestly fine for a moth. Control L, Shift D, X, bring that along here. RY 180. So we want to bring this back in just to there. Same with this one, GX, bring it in there. Okay, and now we want to select this whole inner wrap here with Alt, Shift S, cursor to selected, so it goes right in the middle. Then we want to change this back to 3D cursor, rotate it, so now it's rotating about that point. We go up to maybe minus 55. Same with this one, R55. That's fine. So it'll look like this. So we will go back out of edit mode, shade auto smooth, go down to data properties, add a base shape key and a new shape key, set the value to 1, back into edit mode, R, Y, bring it down, I'll bring it to here, and you go R, Y, bring it down to here. So now, when you change between 0 and 1 for this value, it'll be flapping its wings, which is what we want. So let's go back to the first frame, press I to add a keyframe, hover over this value and press I. Go 4 frames later, we go up, press I to add a keyframe, click on these two, Shift E, make cyclic, and it'll be flapping its wings like that forever. And then we can click on our bulb over here. Click on our bulb. I'm going to make this its own object. If you press P, separate by selection, I'll just separate this, and now this bulb is its own object. Particles, new particle system. We want 50. Don't want too many. If you just press play now, it'll just stop dropping. It'll start dropping particles like crazy. So we want to set this number to 50. We want to start on 1 and end on 1. We want all of the moths to exist all at once. Just like that. We don't want them appearing. We want to change the render to object. With the eyedropper, we're going to click our moth. So now all the moths are just going to fall all at once. We don't want that. We want to change the physics to boids, which stands for bird-oid object. Change the max airspeed to 2. So now they'll just go off in all directions for 50 frames. Lifetime 250. So now they'll just fly off in all directions, which we don't want. Go back to the start. They have relations with each other, so we don't want flock. We want follow leader, and the leader is this bulb here, so we'll select that. So if we go like this, they'll start coming back to it. They'll start flocking around it. Control A, all transforms. There we go. So that'll just bring the origin point of it back to here. Oh, sorry, they're following the origin point, so we don't want to do that. We want to go object, set origin, origin to geometry. They'll go away, and then they'll start coming back in, and they'll go all crazy like that. We want to change the scale of them. We want to make them smaller. And the scale randomness will increase as well. This only makes them smaller. So if we look at that here, that looks pretty cool. So I think it might be best if we give them a little bit more acceleration. Yeah, because they be kind of crazy. Give them a bit more speed too. Look at what they look like. That looks pretty good. Might give the moth the same wood texture that this has. What is this, wood? I'll give this wood. Make them a little bit darker. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that looks pretty good now. I'm fairly happy with that. Final touch is to add in some atmosphere. So make a UV sphere, shade auto smooth. We just bring it over here in front of the whole scene. Change this back to median point. Scale this guy bigger. So now it's encompassing everything. New, X, Shift A, volume, scatter. Plug volume into volume. Have a look at this. If that's what you want, you can keep it at there, but I don't want that. I'm going to reduce it to 0.1. But still quite a bit. Maybe make this 0.01. Yep, that's not too bad. 0.02. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I like that. We're going to go File, Save first, and then Render. Oh, we're going to turn on Motion Blur. Motion Blur is on. Render Image. Okay, so render's done. This is a good opportunity to show you something that went wrong. So I forgot to press play before hitting render, and so all of the moths are stuck up at the source, which is the light bulb here. So they're sort of splaying out like this, and you can see them all collected here. So I'm just going to redo this. So I'm just going to get rid of that. I'm just going to go back to the start, press play, just let them do their thing for a little bit. Pick a frame I like. Maybe there, that looks pretty good. Maybe there, 149. So now if I press render image, now it looks a bit better because you've got the moths going. There might be even too many. I might reduce the number of moths to maybe 30 or something, but that's not important. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. It went on a lot longer than I thought. I thought it'd be pretty short, but doing 3 things and explaining every single step of the way is longer than I thought it would be. But anyway, there you go. Enjoy.